last thing that you've done for yourself that you were just completely happy to do?
Hello, Jaz Reyes, and welcome to Paano ba to? Thanks you so much for saying yes. This is actually part of a series on content and creativity. And I'm so glad you said yes because for me, you are so interesting in that. Obvious naman, if you look at Jazz's feed, particularly on Instagram, _Jaz with a Z, Reyes. Gas-gas na yung out of the box, but it is. And it's just not the usual way people do things. So thinking out of the box, coming up with very different ideas is what I wanted to talk with you about today. So are you game for the questions?
Hindi, but go. Joke lang. Yes, of course.
Caring-carry ito. Okay, this question is from Mao. What routines or habits can we incorporate in our daily schedule to ensure that our ideas will keep on flowing or our creativity is activated and alive?
It's so weird because the word schedule and creativity just doesn't flow at the same boat for me. Like when you stifle something, I'm not sure if you can create something out of something that's stifled. I feel like what's natural for creativity is that it comes from everywhere. So typical, but if you sometimes not think, tapos bigla, hala, may idea na nakapasok. You don't expect it eh. For me, it's just experience, just be you, just talk to people. I think that's the best way. It's not to create a schedule in order to have that creative juice. Because if you create a schedule and the creative juice doesn't flow in, you feel like a failure. Versus if you let things happen, if you let people talk to you, if you just experience things, I think you can come out with learnings in every single moment. I remember that a short film which was able to win yung Globe contest then sa Globe Film Festival. We got second place there. It was because of a lecture from a professor, si Bobby Gev, in theology class. But I'm not saying that you have to have it in class or anything, but it can come from everywhere. It could have come from your diary. It could have come from an old school book. Ganon. Like some of these ideas that I put out like on IG, especially the clothing tag na parang saying how women should dress, like what is the clothing tag made out of. I made that in 5 minutes. I took shirt from my closet, took a photo of the tag, just erased the tag details and put my own details. And I was so angry kasi at that time when I read that news, I was so angry. And for someone who also loves fashion and wants to express themselves with clothes, I just thought everything was so clear. The message was so clear in my head. I didn't even think about doing that day. I was supposed to post something else that day, but I was so angry that I let everything rush through me and then rush through the visual instead. That's what came out of it. So allow emotions to come in. And for me, dun feeling ko lumalabas ang the most what the heck ideas.
Yeah, I love that and I absolutely agree, especially with what you said about making that piece of content that I think was the one that really brought attention to your work, this Iha Ako tag. You said that you created it in 5 minutes, but the experience you've had in life that went into that 5 minutes. Priceless. You get what I'm saying? Parang to this question kasi of Mao, I also wanted to share that it's not like, for example, you get an idea and then work on it and that's the only time you work on it. Let's say 2 hours, 3 hours. You bring to it your entire experience back, even something you went through when you were like a teenager or even a child. That all goes into it. So I guess what I just wanted to add is a tip actually that came from Boy Abunda. He's like, with whatever output you do, you bring your whole experience back. Hindi lang yung, okay, ito lang yung ano. Pwede kang humugot kung san-san. And I remembered that with what you said.
That's what actually makes your content you. Doon mo yung mahahanap yung, ano ba yung style mo? Kasi ba usually people say, ano yung style mo? What is your presence? Ganon. It's basically you. Sino ka is you should put that on whatever it is. And then no one else can contextualize your experience like you because only you experienced it.
Yes, 100%. Next question is from Janelle. If meron man ako minsan naiisip, madali ako mapangunahan ng hiya or dyahe to execute. Any tips on how to overcome the feeling?
Kapal lang ng mukha, girl. Like, ooh, yan talaga. Kapal lang. I think I get that question also, like some people who DM me about it and stuff. And it's more of like, you can listen to as many people saying to you na parang don't care about other people, but you really have to, I guess, taking back what you said earlier, na you have to have your own experience to really want and to really care enough to not care. I invite you to try the exercise, which is basically you asking your 15-year-old or your 12, if you're 15-year-old, maybe 8-year-old self, go back to your childhood. Because when sometimes, even in Bibles and Christian teaching, they always say like the child is the most pure form. And even in psychology, we always have this big study on childhood. But it's so important because a lot of how we formed ourselves, the way we think, the way we act and stuff, it goes back to reflect on us today. So maybe reflect back on your childhood, your happiest moment. When was your happiest moment? And then you think, why was that your happiest moment? And think about what was the last thing that you've done for yourself that you were just completely happy to do. And that was one really hard question that I had to answer, and I felt so bad because I thought, bakit ang hirap sagutin itong tanong? Dapat hindi siya mahirap eh. And that was one really hard question. You should be happy, diba? But why is it a difficult question? So maybe you have to go back to that and then ask the question na, to your 15-year-old self, what would they say if they saw you now? Would they be happy? Would they be quite disappointed in how you've been acting or thinking about yourself? Because I'm sure when you were a kid, you were just like, yes, go, Bibo, Tito, I'll dance for you. Bibigay mo ako 500 pesos. Diba? Parang ganon. Like, you don't care. And we should go back to that. Syempre, care about mga responsibilities natin ngayon. Yes, you think about that. But in general, especially with what Janelle asked, thinking about that might help. Because it helped me a lot. That was my trick. So baka it might help you.
Do you still get that now? Yung parang you're about to create your idea or you're about to share your idea. Because those are two different things, eh, di ba? From idea to creation and creation to sharing. Do you still get that na parang, oof, wait lang. I kind of have to check.
Yeah, I have like drafts. Like I already did it, 99% done. The 1% is just posting. When I go back to it, I just go, gusto ko ayusin to, or gusto ko ayusin yan, or shocks, parang sakto lang yung vibes, or matatakot ka na, has anyone done this before? Because if anyone done this, like people say, gaya-gaya kind stuff like that. Are you proud of yourself thinking this way or reacting this way? And it gives me that courage again. But that while creating process is just, I don't care. I find it fun. I have so many notes on my phone. I have so many notebooks with scattered ideas on it na the actually showcasing it out there. There's always gonna be that moment. Sana more often than not, you'll just be like, I'm pretty happy with this product because it shows what I wanted to say. But then, syempre, I'm human, so there are times na nasa back burner, nandun siya. Kasi even before, like 2015, 2016, though I had many ideas already in the back burner and di ko lang siya present. So maybe there's a moment of, bahala na, I don't care na. Yes, I'm feeling good today. Post, pack. Then wag mo na tingnan. Let it go.
That's so funny. Super can relate. But I guess it's also a gut thing, right? What's happening in the world right now.
Yes. When everything feels right, especially with COVID, a lot of things are unexpected to happen. So certain things you have to be very sensitive about. Like there are posts that I delayed ng bongga because of certain situations. But there are also certain posts where it didn't have any meaning, but because of a current situation, I had to change it last minute to create meaning. My face in a milk carton, I did something like that na parang missing person. And it was supposed to be like some art fashion na parang missing. But then that time we were talking about the censorship of creatives online by the government and that we should not pass that law, right? It was about that. The piece was about, kung mawala ako, mukha ko nasa carton, alam niyo na bakit. And it's because I'm not going to stay quiet about issues. Like, we should be able to talk about it.
I love how you really set an example that you can use even pretty or cutesy or creative content to share an actual message or an actual stand.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. This is also from Janelle. What is your take on content creators giving out original content or just going with what is uso?
Yeah, syempre, may kasi ngayon, ano na tayo, girl? Dark feed aesthetic na tayo.
Talaga ba? The Zennial me is so lost.
Parang raw na raw yung vibes. It's like darker mood now. Sina David Gison ngayon, medyo dark na sila ngayon. Sina Angel, sina Ida, it's all like dark, moody. Before, pinaka-bright yung photos, super bright photos, and now it's like moody. So there's always a feel. And I think it's a very interesting study, actually. I'd love to research and make a paper about it. Kasi every era, there's always a mood or aesthetic. Early 2000, bright, pastel. Tapos may kinfolk era na talagang so minimalistic, so simple, may ganon. Tapos may mga super neon, super pink, super blue feed. And then now, it is very raw, iPhone grainy, dark, unsaturated shots. There's always going to be this next trend, depending on who you follow. But then if you follow yourself, I think it's okay naman to go with certain visual aesthetic. If it speaks to you, don't be guilty that you like the aesthetic, because you can add that to your own visual or your own, I guess, talent or art and make it your own. At the end of the day, it's still your voice, your eyes, your phone, your hands that are capturing the moment. So I don't think that every photo is the same unless you really copy paste the photo, diba? You contextualize it on your own. You have your own time where you took the photo, you in the specific place in a specific moment that no one can recreate. When it comes to that, yung imposter syndrome, it's always a struggle, but the struggle needs to be there. If everything comes along too easy, I feel like it's very surface level. Once the struggle is there and you find that breakthrough moment, I think that's so much more rewarding as well.
Love it! Thanks so much, Jazz. Grabe yung depth ng mga sagot mo. Yeah, super. And I am also so fascinated about the, like you said, the phases, because definitely what is the trend is a reflection of what is happening in the world or in society, right? In fact, there was, I listened to this interview recently and parang they said that they studied naman music. Every time after something happens na tragedy, like a war or a natural disaster, this is in the US, American lyrics would be a lot of we and us. But whenever it was time of progress, a lot of the lyrics would be I and me. So I was like, which makes sense, right? Sa panahon ng hirap, sama-sama. Sa panahon ng kataasan, we're kind of like,
hello.
Yeah, ganyan.
I'm a queen. Oh my God, yeah. And I've been talking about this with my artist friend as well. And we were like, this is such a great research because it goes back to how we contextualize our art as well. Na everything is an influence. If it's family, if it's culture, if it's world events, if it's music, everything influences it. So don't take everything around you with a grain of salt, because your inspiration can come from any of these different contexts. And don't be afraid na mangongopya ka ng tao. Kasi for me, no experience is going to be the same. Kasi nadalan mo yung mga memories mo from your childhood or experiences mo from way back then. And then that's how you see or feel about certain things. And that's why you made this certain thing, or captured certain things. So ang ganda nun. Yeah, I like that.
Thanks so much, Jazz, for not just sharing your story, not just giving advice for the questions sent in, but also for what you do. Really, thank you for inspiring a lot of people, showing them that, hey, you can do things your own way and put your own flavor to it, because your voice matters. Thanks again so much,
Thank
Jazz.
you.
Hello, supers! I'm sure ang dami niyong natutunan kay Jazz, and I was actually blown away by Jazz. I always knew that she was very smart, but you should hear her whole story, her whole creative journey. And that will be up on the podcast, as always, Mondays at 11 p.m. And before we end, syempre, I would like to invite you, in case you aren't yet, to be a part of our private Facebook group, the Paano Ba To Kumustahan group. And if you're on TikTok, Paano Ba To? Or at I am Super Bianca, I'm also on TikTok for quick advice there. I will see you all next week. Till then, stay safe, supers!